I will call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Roll call has been taken. I need a motion to approve the public safety agenda.
I just have one correction with 5E. It should be letter of resignation, right? Is that right?
Yeah, what's yours say?
Registration.
It says registration.
Oh, okay. Yeah, resignation. There you go, good reading. All right, we have a motion by Dave, second by Jane. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to approve the minutes from January 21st meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Cootie, second by Dave. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Citizens to be heard. Guess they're all on the agenda here. So next up we have Police Chief, monthly report.
Okay, we got January and February's report. January, there were 377 different contacts, and in February, 257. I'm sure as many of you have heard, the start of the new year wasn't a very good year for the police department by losing 2 squad cars within a matter of 4 days apart of each other. But we got one that hopefully will be done next week, and we'll have that back and have it in service. And then the second one should be built and delivered first week in May-ish, and then that'll go in, so I'm hoping by at least June 1st, the second one will be back in operation. And of course, it was the two newest squads. It wasn't the oldest one, but
Right.
There it goes.
yeah. That's what I have for the police report, I guess, for right now.
Okay. Next on your agenda, discuss and approve extension of premise application for the 1850s, from June 12th to 20th, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and street closure.
So I would have thought that maybe they would have been here, but it looks like on Fair Street, from the corner of East Oak to the Acorn Alley is what they're looking to do for a beanbag, Dodge County bag toss tournament from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. So it'll be on Fair Street only that they're looking for.
So they're gonna put up barricades or?
Yeah, they'll have to get a hold of the city to get barricades for sure, to have that section blocked off.
And this isn't the first time they've done it.
It might be the first time for the bag tournament
Mm-hmm.
on East Oak, but, I mean, yeah, we blocked it off for street dances and other events downtown. This is kind of nice, this is gonna be on Fair Street and not the actual East Oak, so.
Right.
That's what I was thinking when I saw that.
And you said just some, the alley up to Oak Street then, right? It's gonna be blocked off?
Just a little.
Yeah, that's what they're requesting under the description, corner of East Oak to Fair Street, or, Fair Street to alley on
To the
Fair
alley.
Street, so Acorn. I mean, the one thing that I'll talk with them about is they'll have to provide access to the driveway for the building 210 East Oak. So that would be the only, either they can stop it there or maybe make a little cutout or something.
Right.
So that they can get in and out if need be.
Sure. So you don't have any problem with it all, Dave?
I don't foresee it being a problem. The other events that have always been held downtown have always been very good, so another way to bring more people into town, I guess, and
Sure.
promote our downtown area.
All right, well, I'll make the motion to approve the extension for 1850s, June 12th, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
A second.
All right, motion by Schuster, second by Cootie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And this was the council, correct?
No,
No.
for information, it can go there, but doesn't need to.
All right, next we got discuss sidewalk cafe ordinance.
So this was sent to us by, I guess, the plan commission is where it
Did it start there?
came from, and it came to us through the city clerk, who took different ordinances and put it together and came up with this one. So I don't know if you want to call upon any of the people in there.
So this is something new we came up with, or is this is already in?
This is something new. This basically, from my understanding, and I'm sure Sean and the rest can chime in, but a few years back, we created an ordinance that allowed for the outside alcohol areas. A good example is the Rolling Stone. They put that addition onto the back where you can sit out in the open and that. And other places could have something if they had the green space to have that, but that pretty much was just the alcohol part of it, that ordinance that was created a few years back, I think in like 2015 or 16. But this is really more about for sitting outside and eating. And for a lot of the businesses on East Oak Street, they have no front. You know, the front is city sidewalk, so they would have to have permission, I guess, really to use our sidewalk, and making sure that there's clearance for people though to freely.
Yeah, they said they're going to use like half of it, so the other half is available
Yeah.
for people to cross.
Yeah.
By the street there.
So, Sean, you got anything to add to?
Yeah, I mean, as the chief mentioned, I mean, we did pass an outdoor alcohol license a couple of years back, I think 15 or 16. That kind of basically allowed decks to be established and allowed the drinking to take place on the decks without an extension of premise or anything else like that. With that past ordinance, it kind of established that you had to have boundaries set around, whether it be fence, whether it be plants or something like that. This ordinance that we're looking to get through blue zones and to get people down to our downtown area would allow basically the restaurants to use our sidewalks to set tables and chairs so they can extend their premise for alcohol and food as well as other things. Basically, the ordinance states that there's no allowance of people walking around with alcohol in their hand. Alcohol can't be served unless there's food being served at the same time. But it just kind of gives them a little more flexibility on getting people to come down to downtown and to use their establishments. I know we've been working on, I believe Blue Zone's been working on this for a good 3 years, I believe. And Dave, I don't know if you want to step in and, well, anything to add on to that, or?
With the blue zones, we looked at a couple different ordinances. One was from Mayville. The Mayville one also had in there that they weren't liable, the city was not held liable for activities on their sidewalk. Sean's got some numbers in some of these, but I don't know if that covers to make us held harmless, letting them have a cafe on the sidewalk. as well as the Chamber of Commerce that is also interested in promoting this idea that hopefully this will, you know, public safety can come up with some wording that allows the businesses to have this downtown. I know I've enjoyed it in a couple of communities I've been in. Another years when you could go somewhere, you know, I think it'd be a good thing.
I think for a review of what was done and why it wasn't accepted, 4 years ago when there was an in-depth research, I don't think we realized how much of that 15-foot sidewalk is actually the private property owner or their business establishment until 1850s remodeled and extended their canopy out. And I was shocked to find out how far the property line did go out. The city only has about a third of that sidewalk in most instances up and down the street. So at the time, we were under the impression that they only had about 5 feet and the city had 2/3 of that 15-foot sidewalk. Well, we found out it's just reversed. And when talking with Dave at Planning Commission, we all agreed that if they could maintain a 5-foot walkway alongside the curb, that would be just outside their property line, and if they could like barricade it with a fence or posts and chain or something like that, that you wouldn't impede the travel of anybody on foot up and down the street, that we'd have no problem at all with promoting this. Like Dave said, other communities are all around the state, they're doing this, and I think we should give our business owners the upper hand to be able to make some money off of this and promote our downtown. And I personally think it's a good idea. I thought it was a good idea back then, but I think the city felt that the liability was going to be too much on their backs because of the fact that we thought we owned 2/3 of that sidewalk and find out we only own about a third of it. So.
Well, and clarification on that too. I mean, this ordinance is authorizing these establishments to place their tables and chairs on the right of way. If they don't have that 5 feet between, or they don't have the 10 feet or whatever necessary to clear that walkway, this is authorizing them to place tables and chairs on the city's right of way. There's also the very last statement on here, number 7, says that no person shall obtain a sidewalk cafe license unless the applicant procures the policies of insurance from an insurance company licensed to do business in the state of Wisconsin, basically kind of giving the city that waiver of liability. And on another issue, I mean, there is something that other cities are doing too as well that's called the parklets. Basically what that's doing is they're giving 5 feet off of the sidewalk into the actual parking portions of the street that allows people A, to either walk around, or B, to have those actually established chairs and tables within that area. So that's something we can look into the future as well. If there's certain establishments that don't have that can't clear that 5-foot walkway.
So is I assume the city attorney will look at this?
Well, I guess we have to iron out what we'd like to keep and what we don't want. I personally think that they can expand their premise on the 10 feet that they own there effectively, and think if we still maintain our 5 foot to provide a walkway, I'm sure we're not going to get nitpicking. Dave's not going to go down there with his chalk and start marking a leg of a table or chair that goes over that line, but I'm sure the business owners wouldn't want to give up parking in front of their premise. We don't have the room to do that, to push them back 5 feet towards the center line. So I just personally think they could make it work within their boundaries and still maintain a walkway from the curb inside, which would be essentially city-owned property. Again, I don't have a problem with them eking over the line, just so that we don't have complaints that, hey, I wanted to go for a walk, I got on Main Drag on Friday night and I couldn't even make it from Fair Street up to Main Street because there's so much in my way or whatever. I think we
That's the other side of the street too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I mean, could force them to the other side of the street, but there again, if they're parked up the street, they're gonna walk the road down to get to where they wanna go. If they can't walk, provide a walkway. I mean, just as soon as the bumpers of cars play into that too, you don't have 5 feet anymore. You know, they chuck their wheels against the curb and about 3 feet of that'll be gone.
We're on top of the sidewalk too.
Now, Kathy, she owns a premise there between these places that would be promoting that. I see most of her patrons coming in through the front door, and I mean, that could impede, you know, her business as well. So I think we still want to keep some kind of walkway, you know, established there. But that's my personal opinion. You all got yours.
John?
My understanding is there's 2 different ways to go here. There was what kind of sounds like you're talking about is like a pop-up sidewalk cafe where you just, every day you take your table and chairs out there and leave the 5 feet available. Then there's also a structural where in my case, I want to extend my deck out and it would be a permanent structure, you know, so I think there's 2 things that are, maybe both are possible, maybe one is, but I don't know if we're talking about both of them today.
Well, in regards to extending your deck, I think that becomes more of a plan commission zoning kind of ordinance lot line kind of situation than actually having people out there eating or having alcohol. As I mentioned before, there's already an outside alcohol ordinance out there that would cover your deck basically, but it would just be that lot line setback and everything else that you would need to establish
So right
through
now,
plan
about that
commission.
pop-up.
Yeah,
setup.
basically you
Okay.
take your tables out during the day and then bring them back when you're done at night and.
Yeah.
Your situation was discussed at planning commission because we felt
Yeah, he came here one night too and talked, get some plans and everything else,
That
so.
was all approved.
we felt that your situation was better than most because you would be elevated, that you'd be able to bump out as far as 5 feet from the curb, 6 feet from the curb, and be able to, I mean, plan commission didn't seem to have any opposition to that at all, Dave, if I remember right. So
No.
we kind of used you as an example that
Did you
You
go to
would
planning
be-
commission and talk to him? Or not?
I didn't. I just kind of mentioned in an email about a month and a half ago that we're actually on pause for about a year just to the uncertain business climate, the uncertain political climate. That's going to be a big chunk of change. So we're going to personally hold off for probably a year before we move forward with that. But I do know we got pretty far with discussions,
Yep.
verbal.
our only concern on planning commission, if you were to build that you'd still maintain your ADA accessibility to be able to get into your premise proper as well as the extension of the premise.
Yep.
I think one thing goes with the other, whether it's a permanent situation or a pop-up situation, you know, I think there's merit in both cases and.
Well, yours will be enclosed, right?
To be determined. It'll,
Okay.
it'll
Because I
pro-
remember your plans, you brought them before this committee and we reviewed them.
Yeah, there's still some movement that could happen, but it'll obviously have to go through and get approved finally before we start building anything, so.
It would fit within that outdoor alcohol
That's what I was
ordinance,
thinking.
yeah, because it's gonna have railings if it's a deck, it's gonna have basically one entrance or one exit that they can control where the alcohol's going and
And that's
everything
the
else. That's
existing
kind of what that
ordinance, so.
original ordinance was trying to establish, yeah. Where this is, again, just giving the restaurants the right to use our sidewalks for that certain period of time.
Well, I personally think it's a neat idea. I've always liked going to towns where they have their restaurants outside. I think it's pretty cool. Question I have, we were talking about the 2016 ordinance or whatever. I think that was in response to smoking, when they you couldn't smoke inside bars anymore, so I think like the Rolling Stone, they built there so they could have a place where they could go out there and smoke. What about smoking in dining areas then?
Well, I mean, they would still need to establish, I'm not sure if Juneau has certain feet that have to stay away from the doors and smoking or anything else like that, but they would still have to be within state laws and everything else, and then it would basically be up to the establishment on if they could or could not.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as they're within state laws, I mean, there's nothing the city can do.
Well, just reading this through, it looks like there was a lot of work put into it, and I don't see any changes that I would feel need to be made. I mean, there might be changes that others feel that need to be made, but when you said that line 7, or number 7, pretty much gave the city a waiver, maybe we could just put something in there that the city is not responsible. I mean, it says that they get their own insurance, but maybe instead of having it indicated, just spell it out. I think it's a very well-written ordinance.
What does E3 mean? License issued may not be valid. What would that, what's that talking about?
Basically, if you were doing, well, for example, I know we have farmers market on the agenda tonight. Not quite sure how that works down in the downtown area, but if they wouldn't be able to use that property or that sidewalk during the farmers market. So if we had like a street party or something that was being established that the city would host, it kind of goes against that. Or if somebody decided to do a special event on the street and the sidewalk's taken up, or we lose that 5 feet, it's kind of more of that. It kind of gives the special events priority over the sidewalk cafes.
You're just saying both can happen at one time.
Correct,
Which makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, could they happen at the same time? Like, say they're, if they have those street dances and stuff, couldn't they still serve food and stuff outside?
They could, yeah, as long as it's not closing off that portion of the sidewalk.
Well, that'd be an instance where the block would be blocked off and you wouldn't have parking there anyway, so you could utilize the whole sidewalk and walk in the street, so. Whether that's necessary to have that in there or not, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, definitely. If they're gonna have an event, usually the barkeeps or the places along the street are involved with it.
Right, they're the ones that want the event.
Absolutely. But I think Sean was trying to construct something that kind of covered it, every situation.
I guess because it says may, it doesn't mean that it's necessary. It's not a shall.
Yeah.
You learned that from the code book, didn't you?
Yeah.
And the only new thing I noticed since I submitted this was in the application number 1A1. I didn't put public safety on here in regards to being reviewed by. If we do an extension of premise, that's probably going to be something that public safety would have to approve as well. So to group it all together would probably be the best route to go in regards to that.
That's why I suggested the planning commission send it here. Planning commission went on record as approving the concept, but regulation of it is Dave's department or public safety's department there to pull it off safely and make sure that all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed as far as that each, and I'm sure there's going to be input from other business owners along the street too. I would be willing to bet anyway.
And it's something we can run as a pilot program as well for a year and see how it works before we start throwing money into ordinances and changing and everything else, and definitely do it that way as well.
Are you saying planning commission should come out and put public safety in, or are you thinking just to add public safety?
It's governed by public safety. It's really a public safety
So take
issue.
plan commission out?
Plan commission is kind of the involved structure, and like I said, that we went on record as approving it conceptually. The concept of it, the plan commission has no problem with it and thinks we can work around it, and we will work with owners like Brett when it comes down to the construction of that to make sure that it's in the eyes or best interest of the community.
Well, would Public Works also come out? They could get a copy of the application, but should Public Works be in there, you think? I can see police department and public safety. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't really think Public Works would have any input on it at
No,
all.
Public Works try to come out of there,
So
yeah.
take both of them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, take Public Works and Planning Commission, put Public Safety in there.
So we don't want planning commission to approve plans on where they're going to put tables, how many tables, anything
That
else
they
like that.
should, that they probably should. And we'll try to determine the reasonable setbacks from the curb and whatever, if that's what that's what planning commission is about.
Yeah, so planning commission should actually approve the plans of
Right.
where their 5 feet is going to be of the side of the walkable area
Right.
and everything else.
Absolutely.
So Public Works should really be the only one that comes out.
Keep
Yeah.
that in.
Keep that and put public safety in, yeah.
Brett, do you have any more thoughts?
No.
You're liking what you're hearing? Good.
I agree, I think once this is up and running, there's always gonna be tweaks to it,
Yeah.
once we see what's happening out there.
Right. That's why if we want to run it as a pilot program for a year, definitely do that. We can work out the tweaks and then throw an ordinance together, or we can
It's
do it all done
impossible
at
to see
once.
what all is gonna happen, so.
Might give those business owners a chance to feel out whether it's worth their while or not.
Any other comments on it?
I guess, to keep moving this forward, what direction should
Yeah,
this
just
go
as
in?
discussed, I mean, we got no more action on it, but where's it going next then?
I guess it kind of depends on how we want to handle it. I mean, if we're just going to do it as a pilot, I don't see it needing to go any further. If we're going to do it as an actual ordinance, it'll have to go through council. So we can, I mean, we can move it, we can table it until next public safety if we're going to do a pilot. You guys can review it and approve it at that point.
You know, when you just said plan commission should approve the dimensions of proposed sidewalk, why don't we move plan commission down to number 2? Because that's what they're gonna be doing, correct? And then keep public safety on number 1, and maybe even switch these, I don't know. Does that make sense? Because I thought you said, Mayor, that plan commission would be reviewing how many chairs, how many tables, the setbacks.
Well, I didn't know if we were gonna get that fine tuned. I guess I was focusing more on a permanent structure, like what Brett was talking about and what have you.
Yeah, because they're just setting tables and chairs and they're taking them back in at night.
Right.
You really don't have to.
Those are
Leave it.
usually, those are kind of the rules and regs there, you know, you're not gonna let them, you're not gonna have tables with umbrellas and let them blow down the street when the 2 o'clock in the morning storm comes up or anything like that, so.
Okay, so leave it public safety and plan commission for compliance.
I'm thinking,
All right,
we don't wanna overthink this, but
okay.
Dave, did you check in with Mayville? They've been very successful over there, and it's worked out real well for them and what have you. Didn't you mention that, or?
Yeah, that came up in blue zones, and it was well, it's well used. Haven't had problems with it. You know, people seem to enjoy it.
And if I remember right, from the first time around, we researched that, they didn't have the luxury of their property lines pretty much ended at the store and business fronts. The rest, that was all, they were completely on city-owned right-of-way there. Probably just inches of it or a foot of it was where right-of-way started there, so. And just like what you said, Sean, they obviously got waivers to be able to use the city sidewalk, so.
I mean, they had noise restrictions so that you couldn't have your sound system out, and then the next 2 doors over, you got someone else playing something else that, you know, they didn't want that either. You know, so I'm sure there were some stones that they stepped over when they did theirs, and, you know, but from what I've heard from Blue Zone and all, it's been well received.
Mayville's kind of an exception to the rule. You could move the car or the parking spots back a full car length, and you'd still have 2 lanes of traffic be able to go between the 2 of them. They've got extremely wide Main Street there. But yeah, people that I've talked to too over there seem to think that it's a good thing, that they haven't had any issues whatsoever. There again, like I said, their sidewalk is completely in the city right away.
I mean, the same ordinances that follow the inside of the establishment are followed outside, and the long arm of the law can reach out and touch them if they do it, you know. So
I think with the exception of the smoking
Correct, that would be,
allowed outside.
probably be allowed outside.
I think they even said that each premise had to designate a non-smoking area for people that wanted to eat in an area that they didn't have to sit beside a smoker. Now, that's pretty tough when you only got 30-foot frontage, you know, but,
3 or 4 tables out there.
yeah,
Gotta check which way the wind's blowing every day.
there you go, yeah.
Anybody else? I guess we'll, put it on next month's agenda. Everybody take it home, look it over, see if you any changes, and maybe we'll okay it next month and move on to there.
Brett, will you spread the word with your neighbors? Sure. Brett is now the new City of Juneau Commerce Chamber of Commerce president now, so he will be having meetings with hopefully his neighbors to be able to get their input as well.
Sure. All right.
Can I be excused?
You can, thank you.
Colin thing.
All right, next we have discuss and approve grant permission to the Juneau Chamber of Commerce to block off parking lanes on East Oak Street from North Main Street to Miller Street on the north side of East Oak Street in front of 127 East Oak Street for the purpose of the Farmers Merchant Market every Friday from May 15th to October 28th, 2021 from 6 a.m. till noon. So I guess they're moving it, they were down by Pig Wiggly, right?
No,
They were up at,
they're back, they've
Were they
been
back up there?
down now for the last 2 years, I think.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
there was only about one.
it hasn't been,
One or two.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of people up there, has there?
no. I think it was more successful when it was down in Big Wiggly's parking lot, but they elected to move it back up there.
They want it back up there, huh?
Well, I'll make a motion to grant permission to the Chamber of Commerce to block off parking lanes at 127 East Oak.
I'll second it. So I have motion second to approve the City Juneau Chamber of Commerce. Motion by Foodie, second by Schuster. All those approve?
Aye.
Aye. What's that?
Does this have to go to council then?
Thought it normally did.
I think it probably, think it gotta go to council or not?
I think this falls in the same parameters as what the extension of premise is,
Does it?
isn't it, Dave?
Well, yeah, what Sean just pointed out there, though, the extension of premise, actually, they have something typed on here that it should go to council, so we probably should send both to council. And if nothing else, it spreads the word and it makes the other council members aware, so it's not a bad thing to send it up there as well. And then that way, if there's any concerns, everybody has a,
Sure.
Has a say in it, yeah.
All right, I guess we'll,
So do we have to make a motion on another one then?
you guys already made a motion to approve it.
Just add the send to council.
let's send the council, yeah.
Send both to council.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion carried. We'll send that to council also, along with the first one. Okay, next we have letter of resignation of Kathy Ferrari.
So Kathy, on March 16th, gave me her letter of retirement resignation. Left her last day of work being Friday, July 30th, and then she'll use up her vacation time through August with a retirement date of September 1st, 2021. Kathy's been employed with the city for the past 32 years. And I think just about all of that time Kathy was with the police department, other than a short stint up at City Hall, I believe. That was how many years at City Hall, and then the rest was police department.
Well, she was police department at City Hall up there too.
Yeah, but at first she worked,
Data entry and
yeah, at first she
deputy
did, I know you
clerk.
started there.
Yeah.
Utility billing.
So yeah, she decided to spend time with her husband, enjoy some traveling, motorcycle, and work on projects around the house, as well as becoming a full-time grandma and taking care of her granddaughter that will be born in June, and watching her other granddaughters and new grandchild that will be born in September. So it's going to be Kathy's daycare.
Congratulations, Kathy.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, she survived the last 9 years working with me, so she said enough is enough.
So she's ready to be grandma.
So you're used to taking care of kids, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of Dave.
Yeah, it's a full-time job.
I'd like to thank Kathy for her years of service and also for that notice. We don't get that very often. You know, most of the time you get a, well, I'm gonna be done at the end of the month, and 3/4 of that time is spent on vacation and what have you. So at least this gives Dave some time to shake the bushes and try and find a replacement. So I thank you for that, Kathy.
Yep.
So I guess a motion, I guess, to
I'll make a motion to accept the letter of resignation for Kathy.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second to accept the letter of resignation. Kathy, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So F and G really go hand in hand with each other as far as this committee. Basically, this committee, per how the hiring policy is, you guys say yes, you can go ahead and fill those positions. My thought is to hopefully hire somebody part-time in the interim, because before I jump into hiring somebody full-time, I want to really do a good evaluation of whether or not we can make changes to that position. Maybe it doesn't require a full 40 hours. So I don't want to just go and fill the position right away with a full-time person, and then we're locked into that. So I think there's things that we can benefit from by taking a closer look and that. So that's why I'm asking just for the permission, the approval to hire either part-time or full-time. The part-time position was put back into the budget last year.
Yeah, did we discuss this last couple of times? Yeah, did you hire any part-time or nothing right now?
No, we were gonna do that, you know, come March or April, May. I was gonna come and ask about the part-time, and well, Kathy beat me to the punch and gave me her letter, so it did kind of change things up, but.
So you would probably hire a part-time person while Kathy's still here?
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You know. And then, like I said, I would like the permission to hire the full-time, but knowing that that could change a little bit as far as the hours worked and that kind of stuff. And,
Would you seek a part-time assistant with the option of becoming full-time?
I think when we interview the people, that would be, you know, ideally it could be, or whatever the position may end up being.
Sure.
You know, so I don't want to advertise that it's a 40-hour per week position at this point, because after we see what Kathy does and that, we may say, you know what, 32 hours is more than enough. So, just I want to keep my options open so that we can benefit the police department to the fullest and have the coverage that we need and whatever. But I think it's time to take a look at that. If Kathy's retirement now allows us to reassess and look at everything from a different view.
Because here you got, approved hiring a part-time and a full-time, so you just,
And I think our focus last time was, it came up with the wedding and everything that Kathy took off all that time, which, she is entitled to. It just brought to light that, hey, it might be good to have a backup person.
You know,
So,
so yeah, I mean, both are approved positions or whatever in the budget. I just want to go slower into the hiring of a full-time person.
so you're asking right now maybe just to look into a part-time person and go from there?
Well, that's kind of the goal, is to see what's out there for a part-time person, and maybe that person then would be interested in
Full-time.
full-time.
Do you want us to approve both though, tonight?
At this point, because then we don't have to come back later and, not knowing what the candidate pool will be like. I mean,
I make
It's
a
in the
motion,
budget.
I'll make a motion that we approve, giving Dave the opportunity to hire a part-time administrative assistant and a full-time administrative assistant.
I'll second that.
all right, so a motion, Ammon, second by Cody, to let Dave go out and hire part-time and full-time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So you're gonna put it in the paper and keep going on 10, or?
I don't know about the newspaper,
Okay.
because you run an ad in the newspaper, and that's several $100s, plus
Yeah.
the audience that you're reaching through newspaper is
Limited.
So it goes on the website, so the Juneau website, don't it, or?
yeah, I'm gonna talk with Sean and see what our options are for advertising it. We got our website, we got our Facebook page.
WMCA.
If I can find free advertisement sources, that's what we're gonna use, because when I advertise for a police officer, we put it on what's called WileyNet. That's a statewide website. That doesn't cost us anything. And that goes throughout the state, where you run an ad in the Beaver Dam paper for $300 for 2 weeks, and it reaches who?
So League was ours free too, I think. League is not municipality,
Yeah.
and that's statewide.
Not that we want people from too far away to apply for a secretary position, but you never know. That's what the process is all about. You sort through them.
All right, anything else, Dave?
No, that is it. Thank you.
All right. Next, go to EMS.
Yeah, you have my monthly report for January and February in front of you. For the month of January, we had 30 calls compared to 26 for 2020. And in February, we had 41 calls compared to 28 in 2020. Any questions on my monthly reports for call volume for those students? Volume is up this year. We're over 100 calls ready for the month, and we're just through February, just through March, so we've been busy. So any questions on those, I can try to answer for you, or get answers to you. Pretty much just breaks it up by municipality.
Then you have your annual report.
Yep, that's the report that's got last clipped up in the left-hand corner. So the first page here is revenues. So it looks at, way at the top here, it says charges, and then it goes gross revenue, and then it goes service revenue. So And this is just the revenue from calls. This number does not include any contracts with the town of Clyman, the village of Clyman, town of Oak Grove, and the town of Hubbard. So that's something separate from this. This is just my calls that I bill for. And so, so they charged $204,958. They received $150,000, and the service received $94,529 for that. So that's what the service received from my calls. That's the revenue generated off the calls. Down below kind of breaks it down into the different phases. So LifeQuest is a collection agency as well. So if somebody doesn't pay their bill, they collect. So I mean, they try to collect as much as they can for us. Any questions on the first page? If you want the numbers for the total package, I could probably talk to Sean about that. Town of Oak Grove does get billed per call, but that's something separate. We do send them an invoice. I want to say it's either every 2 months. It might even be quarterly. I'm not even sure. And then the village of Clyman, town of Clyman, and the village and the town of Hubbard. That's a yearly contract we have with them. So the next page kind of breaks down how we get paid from those. Commercial insurance right down, kind of Medicare, Medicaid, it just kind of breaks it down where the revenue comes from. Payer mix, insurance, private pay, Medicare. And then the last 3 pages kind of goes into the runs per month report, runs by city, what kind of calls. Print's a little small there because I wanted to fit everything in there, but it just kind of breaks it down. So, any questions on that?
So almost 46% of your billings don't get collected.
Yeah, something like that. You got to remember a Medicare, Medicaid call. So let's say we bill $600 or $550. They're paying maybe. We might get $125 or $150 out of that call.
So in that instance, the more you charge, the more you get?
Not necessarily, because Medicare, I might get it wrong, but which is the federal? Is that Medicare?
Medicare.
So they got a flat rate they pay.
Right. So
No
it
matter-
doesn't make any difference what
It makes
rate
no
it's
difference
at.
what it is. This is what they pay, and that's across the board. So I mean, so you have a lot of those calls, you write a lot of that off because they don't pay as much.
Yeah.
So.
Kind of sad.
But that's just, there was some legislation I read about a couple, maybe it was a month or two ago, about those numbers might be changing, but never was very fast. It takes a long time for that to change. I don't think there's been an increase to that in probably about 3 or 4 years for sure, if not more. Any questions on that? If there's something you'd like to see in more detail, I mean, I can bring LifeQuest and they can explain it in detail how it all works, if you'd like that. I couldn't imagine doing my job without a company like this doing our billing for us.
So they've done it for quite a few years for you, haven't they?
Since 2007, so, yeah. There's other companies that do it, but they've been very good to work with me, and I can't complain. And just to keep up with the regulations,
Right.
the Medicare, Medicaid, they're always changing something, and I don't know how I would do it, so.
No, they're a bonded collector where they can.
Oh, yes.
They can do liens and
Yep.
what have you, so.
Any other questions on that?
I think it's impressive that they get 88% their first time around.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's very good, yeah. All right, Dan, next you have discuss and approve Juneau EMS working
I
with
guess
work
it's
on
not
that.
really approving, you can probably take that. I
Oh,
just wanted to
just
make you,
discuss it?
I
Okay.
just wanted to make you aware of that. I use Horicon when I'm short, and Horicon uses me when we're short, and so eventually I talked to them unofficially, so there's a point in time I'm gonna have to sit down, we're gonna sit down with Horicon and us and just make it something, how we wanna do that, so.
Okay.
Right now, we've been doing a lot of texting, you know, I'm short today from noon to 3, I'm covered from noon to 3. We don't exchange any revenue, we bill for the call, we take that, they're no different, if they come in and help me, they bill for that call, and they take the revenue from that call. A lot of the times I'll run as a first responder, or somebody that's in town will run as a first responder, so somebody's there soon enough. But it's just the times of things, I mean,
Yeah.
if I had 4 more guys in school and more EMTs lining up, it'd be a different story, but we're all in the same boat. I mean, we're no different than anybody else, so we're all looking for staff to help fill this. So I just wanted to keep you guys up front, so you're gonna see Harkin Ambulance here, and you're gonna see Juneau Ambulance over there. It's just the nature of the beast, I
Yeah.
guess, so.
The way the times are anymore.
Yeah, so,
Pretty short, yep.
once I get more into this with Horicon, I'll keep you guys abreast. I'll let you know, hey, you guys need to be part of this because you're my boss, and so it's one of those things where if I set up a meeting, let you guys, I'll make you aware, hey, we're meeting with Horicon this night and at this time and at the location. So,
Okay.
eventually we need to have something in writing where it says this is how we're going to run it and this is how it should go. And
Sure.
so. And one of the reasons we're doing this with Horicon is that Beaver Dam raised their rates, so let's say if I don't have a legal crew and I got a call, and we have a contract with Beaver Dam to help me with that, but their rates have gone really, really high, just because their call volume is so great over there.
Busy, yeah.
They're just, you know,
Well, it's good that you got that working relationship with Horicon.
yeah, so. And if you know anybody that wants to join EMS or fire, by all means, send them my way. We can use the help, so.
Okay, more
That's all I
questions for
have.
Dan? All right, thanks, Dan. Kurt, Fire Chief report.
All right, you have the report in front of you. We had 8 calls since the first of the year through end of February.
Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
All right, any questions for Kurt?
You can tell me you got uniform.
Oh, yeah, I did get the, it was approved in January? Yeah, January we had our last meeting. And we did purchase a new UTV for grass fires, so we put it in service a week ago. So, still have some work to do on it, put some more light and signage and things like that on it, but it's in service, works good.
Richard would like to look at it after.
Absolutely.
Yep, then Fire Bay, you want to look at after meeting?
Yeah. Come on out and take a look, yeah.
All right, thanks, Kurt. Back to Dave with the emergency government report.
Okay, the week of April 15th is Tornado Awareness Week. So on Thursday, April 15th at 1:45 and also at 6:45, you'll hear the sirens being set off for Tornado Awareness Week. Just a little reminder for the citizens that that's also a good time, and actually any time's a good time, but go down in your basement and look for that spot where you would gather and make sure it's free and clear of clutter, and maybe some board games and something, if you got young children, to occupy them. You know, maybe bottled water and some other type of snacks that could be stored there in the event that you have to seek shelter during a tornado. So, I guess other than that, that's what I have.
That's all you have. Any questions for Dave? All right, anybody got any future agenda items? I guess we're just gonna bring that cafe ordinance back, I guess, and everybody get a chance to look it over, and if you got any changes, that'll be on the agenda for next month. To approve it, I guess, and send it to council. Any old business?
Yeah, I got, we sent to council an ordinance, and passed an ordinance at council about the parking by the auto pets.
Yep.
When are they gonna put signage up and paint the curb and that kind of stuff?
I talked to Scott at the beginning of the week there, because they inquired about it as well, and he said he's got the paint coming.
Okay.
Apparently must used up all the paint we had.
I'm just curious.
Well, they probably had to wait for the weather to warm too to paint. I mean, you can't paint when
Right.
it's cold, so.
Yeah. right.
Yep, but they got the signs, 'cause they were gonna pay for the signs.
I don't know what kind of signage they had agreed to or whatever, but I would think there'd be,
That was part of the deal.
Yep, they were
can't
paying for the
always
signs,
rely
yep.
on that yellow curb, because that gets covered up sometimes too. so.
Right. So I think maybe it's.
No parking between signs is usually the verbiage on it and whatever, so.
Yep.
But no, it was asked of me just at the beginning of the week by the business manager down
Okay, so
there. So
somebody's
I did
talking about it.
talk to Scott personally, and he said the paint should be here this week, he thought. so.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right, any new business? Otherwise, set date and time for next meeting. We have Thursday, April 22nd at 6:30. Now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye, opposed? We are adjourned.